This is the Between Part 3. Let me grab a link for the character keeper for you all. Okay. And let's recap. You currently have 2 active threats, the St. James's Street Ghost and the Limehouse Lurker. The St. James's Street Ghost, you have answered one of the 2 questions, which was which part of the house is the ghost attached to? I think we decided that it was a particular bedroom is where it's attached to. And so you've unlocked the brand new move Old Bones, which is over in the moves section if you want to read how that goes. You must have the cosmic passage mark to use that though, so just bear that in mind. There is still another question though, the question that helps you resolve this threat, which is how can we get this ghost to pass on to the next world? If you answer it correctly, you get to resolve the threat by performing a quieting ritual. Now, I will say that you have currently 4 unused clues, which is plenty for making an attempt if you want to make an attempt, or you can gather more clues if you wish to have a better chance at it. I have also decided to have the threat-specific aspects of the Janus mask be revealed to you. So the Mask of the Unquiet is still available, and it allows, basically whenever someone chooses it, each hunter will have to narrate a flashback to their childhood when they experienced a haunting. So that should be fun. Yeah, so that's kind of where that stands right now. And then the Limehouse Lurker, you currently have 1 question, the threshold question: is this small vampire actually young or are they old? And you have 2 clues towards that. If you can answer it, it unlocks the next question. 2 clues is enough to make an attempt, but you may want to gather more before you do. You've already used the Mask of the Sun on that one. And we have a brand new threat, which we'll get to in a moment. Let's take a look at the hunters. Everyone's doing okay as far as conditions go. A wax doll, a wax frog, and unnerved. So everyone's in good, or no, that's not true. Let's start to carry on. Burnright has 3. Never mind. Burnright is maybe not in the best shape as far as that goes. That's in part due to the fact that Burnright did not have an employer last week, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the conditions are the Sons of Another World, the wax doll, and jealous. Off recording, Chaotic and Sasha and I discussed the possibility of Burnright becoming Mr. Goodfellow's factotum, because it looks like we may not get Darren back. And so you all can make that transition whenever you wish. In the meantime, Burnright, if you want to request vulnerable scenes with either Ms. Sand or Mr. Goodfellow, that's perfectly fine by me. So. And were there any other details from the threats that we want to be reminded of? Well, we have 2 mastermind clues as well. One of them is very interesting because Theodore Brathwaite anticipated Ms. Sand coming back to St. James's Street and put a card there saying, "Sorry, I missed you." And so that's an interesting detail. Are there any other details though that kind of stuck out that we need to sort of be reminded of? Oh, the one not related to a threat, but I do want to point out that we have this mysterious blonde-haired Lothario who dragged Mr. Goodfellow, Burnright, and a sex worker whose name I've forgotten, actually. I noted down.
Lulu.
Lulu, thank you. Also, Katic, your audio is a little weird. You might need to rejoin the call. It's kind of robotic a bit.
Okay.
Right. Just a bit, I noticed it earlier. Yeah, so we have that vampire or that character situation. I don't think I actually revealed that he was a vampire, but it's very strongly implying that was the case. So remind me, Sasha, what was the final sort of outcome with that character, the blonde, beautiful man?
If I recall, me and him made out while Burnright watched us, and I think we kind of cut off there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was holding Goodfellow's hand the entire time, so it was a very awkward situation for Burnright.
Very good, very good. Okay, good. So that I have a feeling that's going to come up again. Also, Lulu went deeper into the place where this person was. We didn't see what happened to Lulu, so that's worth pointing out. Okay. Okay, well, with all that said, let's talk about the phase that we're in. We're in the day phase. We have less than 3 active threats, so I will be introducing a brand new threat. And our brand new threat is called the Nutcracker. Nutcracker is a holiday threat, which means that this time period we're in right now in London is the holiday season, and the Christmas season specifically. And so that's sort of where we're sort of at in time and space. I think perhaps a little bit of time has passed since the last night phase. Maybe not like a long time, but like probably at least a few days. And so let's talk about the Nutcracker. A retired hunter, Rabbi Rebecca Solomon, has sent a letter to Hargrave House. She asks for assistance in cracking a case close to home. You've actually heard of the case because it's very big in the papers right now. The bodies of 3 dancers from the Royal Ballet have been discovered encased in ice and posed as sculptures throughout the city. Basil Lagarde, 13, was posed skating at Regent's Lake Park. Massimo Ossani, 19, was found praying at Solomon's own synagogue. And Hermes the Soaring Lambros, 29, was crucified outside St. Paul's Church. Each body had been gelded. The ballet's winter season threatens to be canceled, and Rabbi Solomon, a patron of the ballet, wants the so-called sculptor caught. It's also just probably a great idea for this person not to be running around London. She has determined that the killer works at the theater, but she is forbidden to speak to staff due to some heretofore unspoken previous recreational trespasses. So she's done a little bit of research for you already. She's a former resident of Hargrave House. You all know her. And she's narrowed it. She believes that the sculptor, who the papers are calling this killer, is connected to the ballet in some way, is in the ballet. This is an establishing question for everyone, and it's all not necessarily true. These are just rumors. But essentially, the ballet is well known for its secrecy. What wild rumors have you heard about its approach to discipline?
I think maybe the previous prima ballerina was, pushed so hard by the training and everything, she kind of just disappeared. So everyone's like, oh yeah, she went crazy and went off into the woods, or oh, she traveled to Russia to train in the tundras. There's a lot of wild theories about what happened to this person.
Thank you.
That they sort of have certain measurements for certain roles in the ballets. Like they have sort of classes, and once you sort of don't make a class, you get kicked out. So it causes like this sort of implied, like you have to maintain a certain weight, you have to maintain a certain height, so like do all sorts of things to like quote unquote remain young forever.
Oh, you're muted, Max. The director of the ballet is very hands-on with discipline. And some ballerinas have had to retire from the injuries in the past.
There are 3 questions and opportunities here, all of which resolve the threat, any of which can be pursued. The ones with lower complexity are more dangerous to resolve. The ones with higher complexity are more complex to answer. The simplest question is, where does the sculptor carve their works? It allows you to resolve the threat by laying a trap for the sculptor, then capturing or destroying them. The second question is, what winter tradition does the sculptor still enjoy? This allows you to resolve the threat by celebrating with the sculptor, luring them into the hands of the police. And the third question is, how does the Royal Ballet train its featured dancers? This is an interesting approach. This allows you to resolve the threat by empathizing with the sculptor and promising fresh materials. It unlocks a move called Dance of the Nutcracker. This is the darkest outcome, whereby you essentially ally yourself with the Nutcracker in order to, or with the sculptor in order to keep him or her under control. So that is the most challenging of the questions and opportunities, but it's there. The mask is called the Mask of Perfection. Whenever someone chooses it, each hunter narrates the last time they danced, what was perfect in those moments. And so with all that said, let's figure out what everyone would like to do for this day phase. The day, of course, belongs to you. And so let's start with Ms. Sand. What are you hoping to do today? Lots of threats on the table, lots of things to get done.
So I would like to talk about a potential solution to the ghost problem, but then with the rest of my day, I intend to hang out in the Limehouse district and maybe indulge in some opium.
I love it. There are 4 clues available for that one, which means even if you work them all in, you would be rolling at a disadvantage of -2. But that's not the end of the world. You can bump it up with Janus Mask if you all need to.
I think the clues we used for last time didn't actually get marked to being used because, like, we did answer the first question.
Yeah. I mean, apart from those, you've got 4 left. So yeah, there are 4 available for this next question, essentially. Yeah, so that's great. Mr. Goodfellow, what would you like to do today?
I think I'd like to see if Burnright's up for another outing.
Yes. I would like that a lot because I have 3 conditions. I'm a bit stressed as of late.
So one of you would
Well-
have to trigger your vice, and if looking at the vices, Mr. Goodfellow's vice is pranks and Burnright's is fine cigars. Which of those vices would you try to work into the scene? Would be the focus of the scene?
Maybe Burnright's is a better fit. I'm not sure Robin wants to mess with him so much as, get closer to him.
So then Burnright, what's the scene?
I imagine, like, it's fairly early in the day and I had received a letter, and I think this came up to, like, Goodfellow's, like, knowledge because I think Miss Sands maybe have gone out earlier today doing something. I don't know what, but, like, I am causing a ruckus in the house, and particularly Dr. Carrion's own room. And, like, I am looking for things and I'm, like, gathering them and putting them in a box. And, like, I'm just trying to, like, rush and do stuff like that. And there's, like, various bits and bobs. There's some of her own personal effects, like her cigarettes and stuff. And then there's, like, other things that I have found because, well, I may have left some of my own cigars in her room from time to time. But I think the entire room is disheveled. Like, it's a mess.
Yeah, I think maybe Robin comes up. He's like, Burnright, you're making such a awful ruckus this morning.
It's we're we make it some visitors later today. It's I want to keep things on the prim and proper, if you under my meaning, and just some things are a little bit less than that. And I'm just trying to clean up.
Is that what you call it?
I mean, I received a very interesting letter, and like I hand you this letter, and it's basically detailing, I imagine, the arrest of Dr. Carry-On for, well, some grave robbery.
Oh dear. These people really do take their corpses seriously.
Yes, it is. And I imagine I do find what I'm actually looking for. I find like this key, and I just pocketed it.
Very interesting.
Bernard, would you like to get your mind off things?
Oh, well, do you what do you mean?
Well, how would you like to meet me in the alley off 3rd and 5th in about 45 minutes?
Oh, all right.
Wonderful. Dress nicely.
Where is this alley, or what is this location?
I think it's maybe just like a seedy alley off somewhere in a neighborhood.
Okay. But this is not necessarily related to the blonde-haired man, though.
Ooh, that could be interesting.
I just want to make sure I know what the scenes, how I need to react to
yeah.
things. So,
How about if it seems appropriate for him to show up, you can introduce him?
possibly it's in the middle of the day, so it might be hard. We'll see.
All right, well,
he tends to sleep in the day.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, if Burnright shows up. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jason.
No, go ahead. No.
I guess if Burnright shows up, Robin probably shows up 5 minutes later. Again, wearing no like shoes despite the snow and ice on the streets, and he's also wearing a satyr mask. And he hands Burnright another like mask of a similar fashion.
All right. I'm dressed for the weather. I have like my own like heavy jackets, a little bit of a green scarf and a hat, but I do put on the mask.
I suppose you didn't have anything more playful, Burnright?
No,
It's fine. It's fine. It's great.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Well, just follow me and you'll see. And I think he leads Burnright probably through a doorway that's leading into probably like a cellar doorway. It's going downwards. You go through a series of dark tunnels. I think there are rooms on the sides with noises, smells of incense. You're pretty sure this is some sort of club or this sort of thing. And he enters a room, and there are people there, all of whom look like Paloma Carry-On.
Oh,
that feels like a good cut. So, we can do the theory if you wish, Ms. Sand. Otherwise, we can go to Limehouse. It's up to you.
So I think I want to theorize because I want to start talking about theories for how to get the ghost to pass on. And so potentially before you left and before you got the letter, we had been talking at breakfast in character. And I know that we were revealing theory out of character to answer a question. And so I think the thing that caused the ghost to be so active now was the strange and cultish behavior of the Beals. These strange purchases that they were making incited the ghost. And what they were not aware is that the ghost was mourning for their child. And so the ghost formed a strong intent to Roger Beale. And I think that we can use the wax doll and perhaps I can add some life to the wax doll to give the ghost their child so they move on. I'm trying to work in why this pattern would help the bones cracking.
I do have an idea for the spiral pattern. I think that's a little bit not exactly directly involved in the ritual itself, but rather it just confirms that this person is mourning the loss of their child, like because it's sort of symbolic of sort of the umbilical cord between mother and child.
Or like a spiraling despair. Sasha, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think it sounds good to me.
So what about the ledger? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I thought that the ledger incited the ghost, but how to use that backwards to help lay the ghost to rest is something that I would be happy to hear thoughts on.
I think we have to find the things that are still inside the house that is like inciting the ghost, because like I think like the thing of thought casting, I think that was just like someone got hired to do a thing in the house. However, like I think there's still pig gifts in the house, and I think we have to just toss out the house, really.
Maybe ritually destroy them, breaking them, and putting the shape of that spiral pattern.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So the explanation between Roger and the strange language, that's explained. It's just the connection to Roger that the ghost feels. The spiral pattern we've covered. The wax doll is the sort of medium of the ritual, and then the ledger indicates that maybe the Beals have been trying to deal with this, already, and so you have to sort of like find some of these things, and particularly pig gifts, to destroy them, in order to create the spiral to get rid of the ghost. I like it. I think it's very good. I think everything's it's a good setup for a ritual. It's really, really good. The die roll is not great. It's a -2, but by all means, Mags, take it away.
I'm afraid that's only a 5.
So it would be incorrect. You can all mark Janus Mask in order to bump it up to a 7 to 9. You can do the Mask of the Unquiet, one of you, and then the others can mark just regular past or future. Or you can all mark past or future.
Like, I think one of us should mark the Mask of the Unquiet, but I'm fine with marking a Mask of the Past for me.
I'm happy either way. I think it would be interesting, given the change in your employment status, to hear some fact about Burnright's past.
Mr. Goodfellow, are you willing to mark Janus Mask?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Okay. Well, in that case, if everyone marks Janus Mask, then the result will be bumped up to a success, but the resolution will be complicated. In other words, the ghost will fight you. And so that's how that will go. But in any case, who's choosing the Mask of the Unquiet?
I will choose the Mask of the Unquiet unless Goodfellow objects.
All yours, Miss Sand.
Great.
Okay, fabulous. Well, everyone else go ahead and mark either past or future. And let's have your scene now, Miss Sand. So you've gone back to the opium den, yes?
I've gone to the opium den, and we talked about how there are private booths, and I think that I take one and order a pipe, and then I think instead of smoking it, I once more cut the pad of my thumb, which has been very ill-used by now, but I stroke my own blood down the shaft of the pipe. And what I'm really trying to do is take the information move with sensitivity, but also attract the attention of the dark entities that plague me, and maybe manifest them a little more physically.
Oh, intriguing. Yeah, let's have the information move with sensitivity. See how it goes.
That was a 9. So
That's good. Let me give you a clue. About the Limehouse Lurker, I presume. Oh, good. You start to see that your blood there's other blood dripping onto the blood of the pipe, and they're commingling. There's a steady patter of dip, 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 dip. And if you look up, you will see a body in the rafters. Blood dripping down from some wound on their body, down into the pipe. And the corpse, the person up in the rafters, is a woman, as best you can tell from the distance that you're at. It's about 15 feet up. And importantly, a nun. That's your clue, is a fresh victim, but specifically the fact that the victim is a nun is the clue. And you asked about attracting dark entities.
mm-hmm.
And I'm going to answer you by saying that in this place, they have a hard time being.
Interesting.
because of the presence of the man in the sun mask across the way.
Interesting.
He will in fact see you from his little cubicle and nod his head toward you. And then at this point, I think other people start to become aware of the nun in the rafters, and it just becomes a chaotic situation. As chaotic as it can be with a bunch of people high on opium. But yeah. Let's note your clue down. It's an interesting display because it's in the rafters, which is weird, which means that how could the child get the nun up there? It's a open question. Why a nun? Why bring them back to the opium den? Presumably the nun wasn't there of her own accord. Lots of interesting questions. But in any case, that's what you have to figure out. I'm curious what you do after that. Once Jenny Johnston comes out, there's a lot of a lot of chaos and stuff, and Jenny Johnston is really, really focused on keeping everyone there's not many people there in the middle of the day, but the few people who are there, she's trying to keep them calm and suggest that we'll take care of this. There's no need to go to the police, that kind of thing, right? So what do you do instead?
So I am intrigued by my little spiritual confrontation with the man in the sun mask. But given that I spent the previous day talking to him about gods, I think I will nod at him and leave. And I guess I will go looking for, this is a pretty seedy part of town. And so I think on foot, I will be looking for, I'm not walking the streets at night, but I think I'm looking for a place that the veil seems thinner.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, I'm into it. We'll come back to that. So let's continue this scene, Mr. Goodfellow. What's happening here?
I think he just waits to see Burnright's reaction. Is like, well, what do you think?
Roy is just stuttering and utterly baffled as to how Goodfellow achieved all of this in such a quick time, and he figured it himself to do this. This is I'm glad for the mask. Gives a bit of distance. But why me?
You are special, right? You are perhaps one of the finest people I know. You are able to sacrifice so much for others, nothing for yourself. So just this one time, let me do something special for you.
I just, and I think I grab at Goodfellow's hand and kind of drag him out of this place currently, because I cannot breathe in here. I can't. I need to calm myself down, and I imagine we're outside the doorway, and I've taken off the mask at this point, and I pull out of my pocket some of my cigars, and I'm trying desperately to get one.
It's all right. It's all right. Have a smoke, take a breath, relax. Bro, this is all for you. Whatever you want to happen will happen.
At this point, Burnright, do you think you've cleared a condition?
Uh, I think in this circumstance with like what Goodfellow has given me, I think I may have cleared jealous.
Okay, good. I like it. Goodfellow, I don't know if we've made the case for the wax doll to clear or not, although I suspect that will naturally clear once the ritual for the St. James Street ghost is done.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
In any case, Burnright, it's your advice, so you get the bonus. Either invite Goodfellow to ask you a question about the past, or stumble on a clue.
I would invite Goodfellow to ask me.
Burnright, I'm curious. What was it about Carry On that made you so, pardon the terminology, obsessed?
Carry On. Before I was in her employ. I've actually met before several times. Like our paths kept on crossing, and I just assumed it was fate. We were destined to be together. It's some things just take a little bit of time for her. She's not the most aware, and I try my best to assist her in revealing the truths of the universe.
Do you think there's nobility for Burnright?
Yeah.
No. Life is short, brutal, and merciless, and all there is no future, there is no past, there is only now.
I suppose you may be right on that.
Someone once told me something, that the only way to get rid of a temptation is to give into it.
And is probably the closest I'm going to get anytime soon.
Do as thou wilt, Burnright. Do as thou wilt.
Very good. Fantastic. Let's take our break a smidge early. I'm having a lot of everyone's audio is very choppy to me, and so I think it's probably on my end. And so I'm going to leave the call. It still keeps recording you all, but I'm going to leave the call while we're on break and try to join back up and see if I have any improvement. But we'll take 5 for now. So we had just left a scene with Burnright and Goodfellow, right? I want to check in with Ms. Sand. Ms. Sand, you're in Limehouse. You're walking the streets. I will tell you that connected specifically to the Limehouse Lurker, we have 2 other locations where bodies were found, near the Limehouse School and then near that bar. But I think this is something different. You find yourself drawn, I don't need any roles, you find yourself drawn to, in a really specific way, down a series of twists and turns, down this side street, down this alley, until you get to an alley with a door that bursts open quite suddenly on the side of the building. And a young woman stumbles out into the snow she looks very, very, very pale, and you can see clear bite marks on her body. And she looks up at you and she says, "Oh, hello." And she sort of like takes her coat and shawl and tries to like cover her arms and neck. She says, "Quite a cold day we have, huh?"
It is chilly this time of year. Certainly. Where are you coming? Looking so flustered. Where are you coming? Looking so flustered.
She says, "Oh, I just, I have just some people I've been with the last few nights. They like to hold these parties, and well, I make a living by entertaining people at parties such as this, we'll say."
That makes some sense. I hope you have been enjoying yourself, and I would love to go to such party. Is one happening tonight?
Yes, I think they get together most nights. They just sleep during the day, I think.
Hmm. So the wicked do get some rest then? Is that what you're saying?
And she laughs. And she says, "Oh, I I've forgotten my handbag. It was very, very nice to see you. I need to go retrieve that." And she goes back inside. What do you do?
I want to follow her inside.
Yeah.
The door is not secured if she steps in through it, so I will just follow her. And I know that she's talking about vampires, and I have no intent in becoming a vampire hunter. But one, if they're sleeping in there, I get to see whether or not they're little.
Yeah.
So that would be a quick way to rule some stuff out anyway. And yeah, I'll do my best to follow her. And
You go down a couple of corridors, a few turns, and it opens up into this large chamber, in the center of which is like a throne, essentially, large grand chair, in which a man is slumped in it, his face on his hand, asleep. And there are quite a number of others in various states of undress, men and women alike, piled on the floor, sleeping. And this young woman is creeping about, and she spies her handbag and she goes to retrieve it. What do you do in the meantime?
I assume that none of them are small. I feel like I would notice that.
No, they all look adult, or they're all big.
Yeah. But just for the sheer impropriety of it, I'm going to go over and sit in the lap of the man sitting on the throne while the woman gathers up her stuff. And I'm just going to sit there. If she doesn't engage me, I won't say anything to her, but I am just going to sit and watch. And
I love it.
think,
We'll pick up in a minute. I love it. So, Goodfellow and Birdright, this is an interesting day that we're all having. After Birdright, after you pull Goodfellow out of there, you all have your little conversation. What's happening now, Birdright?
Well, I imagine that I'm. I imagine I put back the mask on, like, and just like I tried to get myself situated. Like I'm not in any sort of way of this like undress whatsoever, but I'm just like kind of like I'm trying to. I don't know. I'm trying to like amp myself back up to go back in there.
Back into the room with all the carry-on lookalikes?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Mr. Goodfellow, what are you doing?
I think Robin is just kind of watching Burnright psych himself up, kind of like a half smile on his face, kind of leaning against the wall. But I think he's kind of said his piece and is going to let Burnright kind of have the final say.
Yeah. Takes a few moments and then I head back in.
Very interesting. Mr. Goodfellow, assuming that you're just hanging out outside on the street at this point, you will see someone approaching you. A woman wearing a rather simple black dress and bodice, and her hair in a tight bun. Her hands in a fur muff. She approaches you and she says, I hope you don't think I'm being too forward, but I saw you from across the way, and I just wanted to let you know that you cut quite a striking figure. You are a very, very beautiful young man. I'm sure you hear that all the time, though.
Oh, yes, I do. But I must say, my lady, you are certainly very striking yourself. What is your name?
My name is Zelia. Zelia Gagnon. Sorry, Gagnon. I shall type that for you. So Zelia. I am the director of the Royal Ballet.
Oh, I've heard you've had some difficulties of late.
Yes, yes. We are. Production is currently at a standstill while Scotland Yard looks into these terrible matters. But the show must go on, and I have a need for new dancers.
Oh, really?
You are very, very striking. With a little bit of training, a little bit of good-natured discipline, I think you would be able to. Yes, you might be a quick study. Have you ever thought about such things?
My dear Miss Gagnon, I love discipline.
Well, and then she says, would you mind terribly if I did a little informal inspection of your body, just to see if the raw materials are worth molding?
He immediately starts unbuttoning his shirt.
And she runs your hand across your chest, feeling your muscles and your arms. And she says, yes, you have a very, very lithesome frame, Mr.
Goodfellow. Robin Goodfellow.
But capable of supporting the muscle necessary to dance, I think.
Yeah, as well. Dance is one of my pleasures.
I think you should come by our studio sometime soon.
Well, a closer inspection, there are some rooms downstairs. Have you been to this club before? It's quite nice.
Well, I don't have time right now. In fact, I am late for a meeting with some dreadful detective inspectors from Scotland Yard. You know, our troubles as of late. But where can I find you in general? Perhaps I should call on you again, or you could come to the studio at your leisure.
Oh, yes, I would love to drop by. Would it be an issue if I brought some friends of mine? Just show them around the place.
Of course not. Our dance studio is several blocks from the ballet itself, and she gives you the address.
Wonderful, Madame Gagnon. A pleasure to make your acquaintance.
And you as well, Mr. Goodfellow. And she goes off. I would like for you to take a condition marked by Zelia Gagnon.
Ominous.
Indeed.
Should I also mark a reflection for, averting Burnright's devotion to Madame Carrion?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Yes, thank you. It's a good reminder. 100%. How does the masterwork change?
Okay. I think maybe it had some colorful ribbons attached to some of the branches, and they just kind of fly off.
I do want to check in with Burnright. Burnright, do you want that to be all off screen, or do you want to have a scene in with these people?
I just, I don't know. Come back to me. I have to think on it.
The sand. The vampire sitting in the chair he's very beautiful, long blonde hair, fit, slightly opened pirate shirt, tight trousers, very shiny boots. And as you sit down, he stirs slightly. And what does his body feel like as you sit down?
I think he feels sculpted even more, right? Like there's still this bodybuilding community in Victorian England, except for it feels like this particular man's muscles are carved from rock, right? They're cold and they have this hard quality to them that I think I find mild unexpected.
And I would like for you to make the day move, because what you're doing is a pretty nervy thing. What are you afraid is going to happen if you lose your nerve?
I think I'm afraid the nights are long right now because of what time of year it is. And so I think I'm afraid that I will lose track of time and find myself the unwelcome guest in a den of vampires.
Make the day move with sensitivity. And yeah. If you have a personal quarters item that would be helpful, you can always add that in as well.
I rolled a 12.
Oh, nice. 12, good. Let me take a look. So you keep it together, no problem. And you get a bonus on it with the 12. And I think the bonus is going to be I'm going to give you a clue, actually. It will be a clue for the Limehouse Lurker. And the clue is you look down in this vampire's hand and he's clutching a Bible. And his finger is pressed into into the book, like holding a place, right? And if you open the Bible to where he's marked his finger, or the place he's marked, you'll notice that it's the part that tells the story of Noah, but it's missing. Those pages have been ripped out. And that's your clue. So what do you do then? And I think actually at this point, probably the young woman will be startled to see you there. She'll say, oh, Miss, these are not the sort of people you want to toy with.
You have no idea what sort of people I'm accustomed to toying with. And with that, I'm wearing this bright red lipstick. And so I am going to kiss the vampire who I'm sitting on the cheek and walk out. I got more than I came here for, which is to say I've confirmed that these are not the right vampires, I'm clear. Or these aren't the vampire.
Take a clue or take a condition. Take the condition, Julius has my scent. So I'll check in with Burnred again.
I imagine, I think like the sort of the consistent thing is like, I think no matter what happens in the scene, Burnred does not take off the mask. And I'm not sure, did the mask get described as anything in particular?
No, but if you want to do that, feel free.
I for a little bit of a giggle as to terms of like how like bumbly and like how like quote like a lot of Hargrave House views Burnright is like relatively harmless. I think the mask is of a tiger. And I think this scene sort of plays out as Burnright walking into the room and being very rigid but very methodical in terms of like telling people what to do, how to behave. And like for the first time in a very, very long time, I imagine this is like him having any authority whatsoever.
I love it. I don't know how much we have to role play there, but I do think that it's the mask that gives you this sense of authority and even like a ferocity in how you treat these people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I want you to take a condition called the Mask of the Tiger. And with that said, I think we will wrap the day phase there. Let's go ahead and switch over to the desk. The Ghost of Hargrave House is available, Burnright, if you're even able to use it. I don't know if anybody has anything marked. A few things.
There is a couple things marked. I think I'm going. What is it? Okay, leather hunters. Okay. I think I'm going to take off the dull ritual knife from Miss Sand.
It goes into your personal quarters unmarked, and you can use it and then give it back to Ms. Sand marked if you wish, so, or unmarked. Like you take it unmarked, you can use it and then unmark it again to give it back to Ms. Sand. So, or just leave it unmarked and give it back to Ms. Sand at some point. In any case, that's all done. Let's talk about Hargrave House for a little bit. We've done the trophy room, we've done the music room. I think, let's keep it simple today. Let's do the salon. What in the salon makes it the most comfortable spot in the entire house?
I think a roaring fireplace that's just especially, comforting in this kind of cold winter weather.
In that fireplace, there's a 2-gallon cast iron kettle that is kept always full. So it's one of the few rooms in the house where you can always get a hot cup of tea.
I imagine like the reason why it has such a big fireplace is because it outlooks sort of like the actual like backyard of Hargrave House, so you can see like the garden and what have you, and just like a little nice little bay window, like where you can sit during the summer and just watch out.
Here's my question. Did we put up a Christmas tree?
I think the answer is Burnwhite did put up a Christmas tree.
Very good, very good. Maybe we should do a paint the scene about the Christmas tree sometime.
Oh.
I feel like if Bernard put up a Christmas tree, then Miss Sonda has definitely been like putting some pretty dark pagan Yule decorations on it. Just because.
Indeed, indeed. I love it. Okay. All right, so everybody say what you're going to do tonight, and then after you hear what everyone has to say, you can revise your plan. I'll remind you that these are just suggestions because I'm going to do whatever I want because it's the night phase. Mr. Goodfellow, what would you like to do tonight?
I think now that we've answered all the questions for the haunted house, I say we go bust some ghosts.
Ms. Sand?
Well, I thought it would be nice if we had a living wax doll to convince the ghost that it was their child, and it turns out I do. So I'm going to go to 18 St. James Street with my yellow wax frog.
Very good. And Bernard?
I again want some more vulnerable moves, but I think since everybody's going to this 18 St. James Street, I'm obligated to come along bringing this other necessary supplies.
Fabulous. Okay. I think we have some Janus Mass prompts to resolve. You all can do it now, any of them you wish, or you can wait until the dawn phase. It's up to you. Whoever would like to do, everybody owes me a haunting, and then a couple of you have other masks as well.
I'd like to do a 2-in-1 sort of, or at least do both at the same time. So I think narrate a flashback to your childhood that shows how even then people were willing to suffer in order to make you happy. I think maybe you see a procession of people in like peasant clothes carrying wooden bowls filled with bread, grain, bare necessities, deep clearing, putting it down in front of Robin, and he's just the town hall, just completely, scarfing down these bare necessities as these people who are clearly malnourished, watch and awe him. And then I think that the second one was like a moment when you were haunted. I think he's running through the same woods as they're on fire and just looks around as, this whole world comes down on top of him. And he hears all these voices kind of swirling around him. I think this is probably the first time you've seen, sadness from Robin. Tears are welling down his face, like sincere emotion for once.
I love it. Burnright or Ms. Sand, any Janus Mask?
I'm going to do my Mask of the Past. I imagine Burnright is sort of, he received a package in the mail. Like it's a few years ago, before he ever properly met either Goodfellow or even Dr. Carry-On. Like he has like this decently sized package, and like he's like very excited to trying to it's been wrapped very carefully. And when he opens it up, it's a book of poetry, and on the cover of it, it says the collections of R. Burnright.
Very nice.
I just my mask of the unquiet, I guess. But I think we had seen the scene of my mother pulling the loaves out and having them just desiccate into mold. So I don't know that this is the first time that I had a haunting, but I think we see my mother, like there's this runs into her somewhat elevated room, still obviously a servant's room, and there's a crib in the corner. When she looks in the crib, I'm not there. And so she runs out of the room and is hunting frantically for me and finds me levitating about shoulder height in the library, as if someone was patting me on the back as a baby and reading me a story.
Fantastic. Very good.
Yeah. My Mask of the Unquiet is even further back when Burnright was a young teen. I imagine like he's out with like a group of friends in a local graveyard at night, having lanterns lit and just going out there to just tell like ghost stories and what have you. And like everybody's laughing and having a good laugh, but like it's summer, it's warm, and Burnright's just laughing, and like it's his turn to tell a tale. And as he begins to tell it, you can start to see his start to fog, as though it got real cold all of a sudden.
Nice. The Unseen. Tonight's Unseen is going to be second row from the, or first row from the first row, actually, the very first row, second one over. The tarot card reading of Ms. Lydia Wainwright. Lydia Wainwright is a young woman of 19, born into a respectable family. Her mother has commanded her to marry Edgar Thornton, the son of a wealthy industrialist, but her heart belongs to Samuel, a poor but very handsome chimney sweep. Lydia has snuck off in the night to the home of a fortune teller, seeking guidance on the matter. Everyone does prompt 1. Prompt 2 will be chaotic. Prompt 3 will be Mags. Prompt 4 will be Sasha. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back into the night phase. Everyone, as Lydia enters the home of the fortune teller, what do we see that shows this place has real magic?
Imagine there's probably the classic, table with like the cloth and the crystal ball lit with candles and stuff. I think what really stands out is the shadows are moving unnaturally.
I think it's more what we don't see. There's an established seance scene, most of which is parlor tricks, pedals that make knocking happen on the table and stuff like that. And there's just a total absence of that here. There's no evidence of any trickery, even to a very careful eye.
I imagine that on looking, like there are shelves in this place that have all sorts of knickknacks, and each of them have been entirely encased in like a glass case with no seemingly any way to open it, as though something dangerous was underneath, even though it looks very plain, ordinary household objects such as some mirrors, some little like toys, even a doll or two.
Good. You all have hired a carriage to 18 St. James's Street because there are 3 of you, but also because you have things, objects and tools, and a giant frog that you need to bring to St. James's Street. And so you've hired a carriage. We so rarely get the 3 of you together. I'd like to have just the scene with the 3 of you in the carriage for a bit, and then I'll interject when it's time. Role play.
I believe I saw a friend of yours today. Ron.
You'll have to narrow it down. I have a lot of friends.
Oh, I know, but this one was particularly unique. Long blonde hair. You bragged about making out with someone of his description recently.
Oh, yes, that. Where did you come across our little friend?
Oh, I just followed an innocent woman into a den of vampires.
Vampires?
Oh, yeah.
Are you sure?
You didn't know he was a vampire?
I mean, he didn't taste dead.
Well, he feel dead? He doesn't put off very much warmth.
I mean, with this season in this country, people are oh so cold. You would know something about that, would you not? Or Helena?
See, yes, people are often cold. In this season, I find that the average human is actually quite warm with a mild fever. Anyway, perhaps you've just made out with so many dead people that you didn't notice that this one was dead.
And how did you discover his vampiric nature?
Oh,
His cold skin?
I sat in his lap and read the Bible that he was reading when he fell asleep.
Oh, of course, that explains.
Seems like you had already been touchy-feely enough for everyone, so, what's another cross boundary?
Well, it was a fun night. I'm sure you wouldn't know anything about that consent.
Burn rate, did you find it fun?
I will say this in Mr. Goodfellow's defense, he does run a bit cold. Goodfellow, that is.
Thank you, Burnright.
Do you like them cold as well, Burn rate? Oh, you're employer often does.
Is this what we're going to be doing now?
What else
Are we-
should we talk about? We have a few minutes.
Are we just going to
Thinking
put...
polite conversation?
It's not very polite to poke at one's discrepancies, especially since we're all working for Hargraves. I would say that your own reckless behavior, knowing full well that you were going to sit down on the lap of a vampire, that's questionable at best. Being tricked by something, well, happens once, that's certain happenstance. Happens twice, well.
It was the middle of the day, and there was only one chair in the room. And sure, it was occupied, but
I've
yeah,
seen your own chambers, and I use quotation marks. I think you could have sat on the ground, Assant.
you mean I should have sat where the other vampires were sitting?
Oh, so
Could have been the
you're
lap
admitting
of
that
the
there was
one
more
vamp-
than one?
Yeah, I said a den of vampires, plural.
Oh my god.
In fairness, are vampires that far cry from the sort of creatures Miss Sand usually consorts with?
No, Mr. Goodfellow.
Indeed.
To be honest, I didn't want to go there at all. I was simply looking for some friends of mine. I found that it was simply too bright in that opium for them to find me.
Oh, not sure why I actually have any conversations with you at all.
The carriage arrives at 18 St. James's Street. And let's have an opportunity to set aside your differences for a moment. The carriage driver gets out, you hear him hop down, and Mr. Goodfellow, the door, there's just one door into the carriage. That's unlocked, I should say. You're next to that door, and the carriage driver gets down, and you hear a clunk, 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 clunk. And you look out the little window, Mr. Goodfellow, and you can see that the carriage driver is locking you in. And he looks up, and you see that his eyes are filled with sickly green light. And he is now currently preparing a bottle of spirits and a rag. One gets the impression he intends to burn you all out with a Molotov cocktail. Mr. Goodfellow, what do you do?
I want to try and... There's like a glass window of the carriage, correct?
Correct.
I want to try and smash it open with my elbow.
And then do what?
Well, probably pounce on him.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. Let's have the night move. What are you afraid is going to happen if you fail?
I'm afraid that he's going to light the fire. If I jump on him, we'll both be set aflame.
It's worse than that. You will not be able to get out of the carriage in time, and he will throw the Molotov cocktail into the carriage, and you will all burn up and die. So let's have a vitality roll. Yeah, vitality roll.
All right. Ooh, double ones.
You attempt to, before you realize what's happening, the carriage driver smiles, his eyes glowing ever more intensely. He tosses the Molotov cocktail into the carriage, the glass smashing. it smashes directly on the wax frog, which burns very, very hot and fast, causing the entire carriage, the interior, to go up in flames.
I think I'd like to spend the Janus mask on this.
Very good. I was going to keep going with the horror of you all burning alive, but by all means, mark the Janus mask. And instead, I think it's going to be just kind of like a variation of what you said. I think you just get burned a little bit, but in saving the group. Let us have that scene, and then we'll get over to Miss Wainwright. So what does that look like?
Yeah, I think it's something out of adventure novel. I immediately smash open the window and just kind of my life dancer's frame pop out and just fall on top of him. The bottle rolls away from his hand, and I just kind of have him on the ground.
Nice. And I'm going to just give you a condition that's just like, you already took it, burned. Yeah, okay, good.
Yep.
Fabulous. Let's cut over to the tarot card reading. Chaotic. The first two cards drawn in the 5-card spread are the Lovers and the Ace of Wands, the latter of which is typically associated with passion. Speaking in the voice of the fortune teller, begin telling Lydia what you see in the cards.
I see a choice to be made. Both has their own frivolities. There is a man of wealth and a man of passion, of desire, and beauty. Man of wealth, you shall not want for yourself, for your family ever again, but you will be miserable. He would not care for you whatsoever. Callous remarks day by day, whereas the man of passion, you shall struggle for your family every day until you wither away into a grave. But you will be loved.
Ms. Sand, the St. James's Street ghost is powerful indeed, capable of possessing this carriage driver who is currently being subdued by Mr. Goodfellow. It is ready for combat. The gate to the garden is swinging wildly back and forth. The doors are slamming open and closed, and you can see things in the main hall just flying around. This is going to be a tough, tough exorcism, a tough, tough quieting ritual. What do you do?
So I am going to attempt something bold with my rites of salt and smoke. So I am going to reach out I'm going to reach out through the broken glass of the window and use those shards of glass to cut essentially a ring around my wrist. And then with my bloody hand, I'm going to grab the wax frog. And with my other hand, I am going to grab Burnright. And I am going to attempt to, using rites of smoke with this blood sacrifice, do one thing beyond human limitation, which is I would like us to step out of the carriage and into the bedroom. So I want
bypass
one
all that.
step
Yeah.
to take to this part in the house where the ghost is anchored.
But just you and Burnright.
Me, Burnright, and the frog.
Oh, the frog, right? Okay, yeah. But not
Not Robin.
Yeah.
Robin is in a combat, and also I don't want to bring the carriage driver. And since the two of them are latched onto each other right now, I feel like bringing one and not the other would be difficult.
Let's have the roll. Let's take a look at your conditions. I think you're okay condition wise. The frog might actually, no, I think the frog might fight you. The frog is like kind of fundamentally not into this, so make it a disadvantage.
Yeah. Make it straight and re-roll one of them. No. Sorry, the straight roll was a 3. So 5 with my sensitivity, but with disadvantage, that it will be maybe a 4.
It will be all bad. The frog becomes quite monstrous. Your blood gives it power that you did not anticipate. It is growing larger. It's just getting massive. It's nearly the size of the carriage, and it opens its maw, and because it's like partially wax, like as it opens its maw, there's just like tendrils of wax, and it's making this horrible like guttural sound, like this sort of like, and unless you're marking the Janus mask, you're gonna have to deal with
I am
this.
going to mark the Janus mask. Okay. And I actually like the monstrous frog as the problematic side effect.
Okay, good.
So I think the frog is still monstrous, but we are not trapped in the carriage with it.
Yeah, you get into the room. That's good. Bernard, how are you feeling about all this?
Oh, not great. I think I imagine that we pop into the bedroom in which this ritual is meant to be taking place, and there's this growing massive frog, and I'm going to pull out the ritual dagger to try to stab at the frog because like it can't be moving anymore. It just can't.
I like it. We might pick up that in a moment. Let's go over to Mr. Goodfellow. Mr. Goodfellow, describe how you finally subdue the carriage driver. What does it look like?
Well, I think as I have him on the ground, he's thrashing against me and he's possessed seal, and I just like put my hand underneath his like jaw and push backwards as hard as I can. I'd like to use taketh on this.
Oh, very good. I love it. Take it is great. Yeah, sounds like you're destroying him physically. So by all means, you can do that. Roll scar your reflection, roll vitality.
Okay, +2. That's a 9.
On a 7 to 9, it says choose one.
I think I want to say my next roll is taken with advantage.
Well met, because you hear something landing on top of the carriage behind you.
I turn around.
It's dark, so you can't quite make out the details, but you see what appears to be a boy on top of the carriage, Spider-Man style, prone. Cut back to Ms. Lydia Wainwright. Mags. The next 2 cards drawn are the 5 of Swords, typically associated with violence, and the Fool, which represents the beginning of a journey. Please continue the fortune teller's reading.
Thing about passion is that passion takes many forms. It's not just the passion of love. It burns like a fire. There's the violence of it. And I fear that if you follow your heart will pull you to the situations that are intense, violent, that everything will be great when it's great, and terrible beyond imagining when it is not. But here you have a choice to make. You are at the beginning of your journey. You are unmarried and uncommitted. You can choose whether you take that turbulent path or whether you choose something safer, if more disappointing.
I love the movie version of our game where we like have these like scenes cut with these violent scenes. It's great. So, Burnright, as previously described, this monstrous frog. It has to be subdued before Ms. Sand can continue the ritual. So what do you do, Burnright?
Well, I pull out Miss Sand's ritual knife, which I had scuttled away earlier. And so, and I'm just going to stab at it. Just that's like, because like if it has a knife in it and it's stuck to the floor, it's not going to move anywhere, even if it's still alive.
Yeah, and I think it also could be like a memory thing. Like I think the frog like knows it, so it's like it knows to behave maybe like when it's stuck like that, in a weird way.
It's already been pinned quite literally twice.
Yeah,
So I
exactly.
think
Yeah.
just
what are you afraid is going to happen if you fail or lose your nerve, Burnright?
I'm afraid that this how the ghost died originally, being stabbed. And that I am going to get attacked by the ghost very harshly, and probably I'm going to get choked out and die.
I think it's worse than that. The ghost will feed you to the frog. Roll with sensitivity, please.
I'm marking the knife.
Yeah, that's great. And that's good enough. Yeah, just roll with advantage. Yeah, no other effects.
Oh, that's great. Do I have any? Oh, I don't have any negatives. That is a 10.
Nice. We'll come back to that. Mr. Goodfellow, you see a child sort of this halo jumped down and onto the top of the carriage. You can't tell who the child is. What do you do?
Well, I think I kind of stand up, look over, kind of flood the three killing the carriage driver. I smile and say, "Is it past your bedtime?"
And the child leaps at you. I don't know if you know who it is, but out of character, it's little Roger Beale. His eyes glowing with werelight. He leaps at you, and he's filled with spectral power. Like he just lands on you like a medicine ball. Like pow. What do you do?
Bit more fight than your parents. And I just want to try and stand up with him on me, pick him up, and throw him somewhere. I guess vitality with advantage because of Taketh.
It has to be sensitivity because of the. Actually, no. I'll let you have this vitality because you're not directly fighting the ghost. So I'll let you have it with.
No, I'm trying to hurt the child.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Yeah, by all means, take it with advantage.
Okay. 5, 11 plus 2 is 13.
You have full control of the scene. We'll come back to it in a moment. Ms. Sand, I just want to check in with you briefly. What are you doing to prepare while Burnright tussles with the frog creature?
So we're in the bedroom, and I think I am beginning to tear the sheets so that I can form this spiral cord leading from the frog creature out to the bones of the house.
Nice, I love it. Our last stop with Ms. Lydia Wainwright. Sasha, the last card drawn is the devil, representing the seduction of the material world and other earthly pleasures. Continue the reading and then tell Lydia definitively what she must do.
I think she's saying, sure, love, passion, it's great. However, for a good life, for a safe life, sometimes you must sacrifice what you want for what you need. And in this world, what you need is money. Accept the chains of possession, and they shall set you free.
Fantastic. Burnright, please describe how you subdued the monstrosity.
I imagine that it's like this creature is like trying to grow larger and larger. It just can't like be, and like the wax is dripping everywhere, and like I imagine like it's just crawling rather than like using its limbs to stand upright. Like I imagine like up my sleeve, like I stowed the knife away, and I just bring it down at the center, and just trying to put down all my weight on it just to keep it onto the floor.
Mr. Goodfellow, what does it look like when you dispatch Roger Beale?
Oh God. I think I grab him. He's struggling against me, and I just throw him into the carriage.
And what was your die result again?
13.
Okay, so I owe you a bonus as well.
Yeah.
The bonus is I will I think the bonus is I'm going to give you a clue. I'm going to give you a clue to one of the other threats. Let me take a look at my list real quick. I think the clue is this. Yeah. As the camera sort of like pulls away from you having chucked Roger into the carriage, you see briefly another boy. It's a night for scuttling, crawling boys, it would seem. And before you can sort of like focus in on the boy, you are hit by a massive swarm of bats that just flies at you and around you, like just swirling all around. But that's your clue, a massive swarm of bats.
I also have to mark my reflection for taketh. So I want to say that now the tree, it was like dying before, but now several branches and parts of it have just become, like ash gray, like it's been set on fire.
That's great. I love it. Ms. San, this is your moment. Please describe the quieting ritual to its completion, and then we'll do rites of salt and smoke.
So I think Burnright has brought the knife down through the frog's head, hitting it to the floor, and I straddle the frog facing Burnright and tie the end of this rope that I have braided from the bed sheets and spiraled out into the walls of the room and the bones of the house, and tie the end of that to the knife. And I look up and I say, "We have brought you your child. Look how strong and handsome and capable it is. Take him. Take him with you, and may you both be happy in the dance beyond the veil." And I am already bleeding quite a bit, but as I say that, I take my pointer finger and I draw a line, my sternum, and leave this gash of blood behind it. And then I continue out, essentially just tracing a steady line from about where my heart is to the hilt of the knife where I have tied off this rope. And I think when I reach the hilt of the knife, the frog shudders, lays still, and then begins to burn. And that is the moment that the manic light fades from Roger Beale's eyes. And the house itself is fine, but I'm burnt. And and in fact, if it's okay, I would like to change my wax frog to burnt now because the wax frog is burnt, but I'm also burnt. And I think the house is catching on fire. Like, I think we just have to leave because this is a real fire.
I think that's very good. Burnright, Mr. Goodfellow, you can clear the wax doll condition. And Ms. Sand, you can change yours as you've described it. And that will conclude the night phase. We're going to do the dawn. I think since we do have some Janus Mass to do during this dawn phase, let's just take a quick break. Let's take like 3 or 4 minutes and we'll come back and do the dawn phase. It's the dawn phase. You get to collect rewards because you resolved a threat. So let's talk about rewards. I'm going to drop an image into the chat, which has the rewards section of the threat sheet. Each thing can be chosen once. Yeah, so take a look. Whatever you wish to take, let me know.
I will take a memento from the investigation.
You just have to pick either chaotic or
Okay.
mags.
All right, Mags, what do I get?
I think Roger Beale was wearing a necklace when you killed him.
Oh, okay. We
And
will
I
add.
think we take that.
We will add grave robbery to child murder.
I want a memento from Goodfellow.
Maybe it's just, a handful of the wax from the frog.
I think I will just go full circle. How about Burnright? Can I have a memento?
I think he took like, it may not be directly involved, but like it was happening during the day. I imagine just beforehand. I swiped sort of a pocket from Julius.
Let's do our dawn questions. Everyone is getting the first 2 because you answered a question and you resolved a threat. Burnright, did you experience an echo in the night?
I imagine so, because I did both mention the dolls and sort of the struggle between a person that you should probably be with and a person that's really bad for you.
Oh yeah, I'm into that. Yeah. Good. Did you have a scene showing your secret private life in London?
I'm again, it's like pushing it with that scene in Carry On's like cool, but I'm not feeling it.
Okay. Did you engage in a petty reprisal of someone who angered your employer?
Yes. Miss Sand was being very rude
I thought
to
so,
both
yeah.
Goodfellow and Carry On.
Yeah, you can take that one for sure. Mr. Goodfellow, did you have an echo in the night?
Well, I talked about being free from possession.
Oh
and
yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I noticed that.
I did technically free the cabin driver and Roger from their
Yeah.
possessions.
No, I picked up on that. Did you create an ornate, over-the-top erotic experience for someone else's pleasure? Yes, you did. Did you appear in London society wearing risque or avant-garde fashion?
Well, I was wearing the satyr mask through town where I Miss Gagnon, who is London society.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, I'll take that. Yep, that's good. And Ms. Son, did you experience an echo in the night?
I would think so, because I described the fires of passion after our carriage had caught fire.
Yeah, and the house caught fire eventually too. Did you perform a ritual? Yes. Did you make love to a dark entity because it felt good?
I don't think it counts, but the sitting in Julius's lap and kissing.
It was real close. I think if that had happened at another time of day, it probably would have gone there.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
but the others are good. All right, let's continue. You can mark new dawn questions if you wish. Memories the Servant is available apparently, so you get to have a memento from the evening.
I'm going to, as a bit of a petty reprisal to Miss Sand about like Goodfellow's own actions, I'm going to gift her the Mask of the Tiger.
Oh.
Very good, very good. Add that to your personal quarters, Ms. Sand. And I believe you get next speed, right, Bern, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now Jazz Mask. I think I'm owed some Jazz Mask, so whoever wants to go first, take it away.
So narrate a fact to your child that shows the first time you encountered a dark entity. I think I had an imaginary friend as a child who I called Mr. Black. And I was a relatively neglected child because my mother was expected to maintain her servant duties. So I spent quite a bit of my childhood alone with Mr. Black. And one evening, my mother got done with work and came to check on me. And I was waiting with a knife. And I said, "I'm sorry, but Mr. Black asked me to do this." And I think I attacked her, not quite killing her, but disfiguring her. And in that attack, Mr. Black gained flesh. And my mother realized it was not imaginary.
Very good. Thank you. Do you notice when to go?
All right. For me, it is narrate a flashback to your young adulthood that shows the first time you met the artist who fell in love with you. I'm sort of imagining Robin in a very lit pub. He's like 3 or 4 tankards of ale deep, and he's just rambling on a story, being like, all right, well, you see, it's funny because his name was Bottom, and his head turned into an ass. And he's just summarizing A Midsummer Night's Dream for the guy across from him who's like spelling on parchment. And I'm just like, what was your name again? And he's like, William Shakespeare. Got it. And I think that's it.
Very good, very good. It's a big reveal. I like it. It's good. Bernard, did you have any Jazz Mask?
I don't think so. Like
Okay.
everyone else like rolled really badly. I only had 1 roll for the night and it was a 10, so
Fair enough. that concludes our session. Let's do stars and wishes. Whoever wants to go first, take it away.
I gotta give a star for Sasha for having that Carry On lookalikes. That threw me off guard.
I wasn't sure if it was too far or not, but I like the idea of like, this is a Robin testing Burnright to see, can you hang with my crew?
I had a star for, I really, that day phase was much more like daring and brash than day phases sometimes are, and that so many like things were happening. So just a star for everyone sort of like leaning into the baroqueness and the danger and the darkness of the game. I thought that was really great, between both the sort of like Carry On scene and the vampire scene.
I'd like to star just the cabin or the carriage ride with all three. I really love this the mean girls of it all.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying the banter, and the thing that I'm hoping comes through in future sessions is that it really is a frenemies situation, right? We had the banter, but then as soon as shit hit the fan, I got burned right out of there. I wasn't just going to be like, and sure, it was out of the frying pan into the fire, but at least we were out of the frying pan.
Yeah.
And I star because I was genuinely surprised by the Carry On lookalikes. I thought that transition in employment was really, it was fun to see that chemistry develop. And also, I really enjoyed the scene with the man in the sun mask in the opium den. So.
I give a star for Mags. I'm not sure whether or not it's intentional or not, but I just like how, like in last session, like I as Burnright said that I did not like Miss Sant whatsoever as like sort of the thing, and like it really came clear through that carriage ride of like how much I detest you.
What I really love about the that carriage scene is that like I'm watching it play out and watching everybody be very catty and kind of mean to each other, but I knew what was about to happen, and so it was kind of fun as a viewer because I sort of like knew the danger that was about to happen. I had planned for a very, very dangerous night phase, and so it was kind of fun to see you all sort of like have to come together, in desperation. So that was really enjoyable. Really love the answer a question. Actually, I think the answer a question was really, really good. It was I like it when players come to the table like having thought about the solution, and so it usually kind of leads to a really good salient solution. And it was nice that like we had kind of like a starting point, but then with Mags, but then Chaotic and Sasha were able to add like the little finishing touches to it, so it all worked out great.
I think what I'd like to see is, I think you said, Jason, the answer the question, or paint the scene about the house's Christmas tree. I think that'd be really fun.
Oh. Yeah, especially like since like it's sort of implied that like both Goodfellow and Miss Sant are like more into the pagan sort of type of thing, whereas like Burnright is like quote unquote the only true Londonites. I don't know.
Hang out with Robin more, and we'll get that out of his system.
Well, I do think, yeah, I think it's interesting because with the loss of Carry On, we really transition into more spooky weirdos. And so seeing Burnright try to hold on to that like last shred of respectability is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, like his outer layer is respect. His inner layers are not so much.
Yeah, I really enjoy the transition from factotum to new employer. That's been it was surprisingly smooth and effective. It worked really great. And I agree with Mags that it's fun to have kind of like a straight man character in the factotum, so you always kind of want that kind of character. I think especially in a setting like this, right? As far as wishes go, I'm very happy and excited to get deeper into the Nutcracker mystery. We're pretty well into Limehouse Lurker, although there are still a few angles to approach with that one. But the Nutcracker mystery, I've run it one other time, and it's very, very enjoyable because the author of the mystery it just created this really, really like over the top like kind of experience with this particular threat, and so it'll be fun just to get into those details.
Yeah, this is one of the few threats I've really not ran before, so this is going to be very interesting. I've taken a little look-see to like prep it for a different game, but it never came up to fruition, so I'm very excited about that.
Same. This is the only one so far I know nothing about, so that's an exciting place to be.
Also, I wish that I could get rid of conditions because it's just literally I removed a condition and immediately gave one right back.
That's how it goes sometimes, especially in my games, because I like to hand out conditions. That's like my go-to move, my go-to reaction. Yeah, I'm loving this so far. I'm having a great time. Any other stars and wishes before we go?
I want to see how Sans handles her vice. Just yeah, that's the most tricky thing.
Yeah, sex with dark entities is far and away the toughest vice because mechanically it has to involve another hunter and just one other hunter, but then also doing the vice, and so it is a fun role-playing challenge. So I was curious to see how that goes. It's a wish for me as well.
I think it'll be fun too because of the tension in my relationship with Robin and him being the most obvious hunter for me to ask to participate.
Well, you all kind of have Julius now, although you don't know his name yet. You have kind of Julius as a common touchstone, I think, as well, which could be a good sort of fulcrum for all that stuff too. So. Any other stars and wishes? Okay, well, this is great fun. I'm enjoying this a lot. I'm happy we're going to get to continue, and I will see you all next Sunday.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.